Okay, there we go. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Some of the gadgets that I have to kind of speed things up are a food chopper. You guys have probably seen these like on Instagram or TikTok. I got this one from Aldi, and this was maybe $12.99. But you can change the blades to different sizes. So this one here is just the small square. So I'm going to use this one for the garlic and the tomatoes for the soup, as well as the carrots. So that way they can be bite size. And then we're going to use the bigger one for all of the toppings that are in the salad.
Okay.
So it is very sharp. So just make sure that you're careful with it. Um, I decided that I'm actually going to add, or I'm not going to add the celery in my soup. Celery does call for the recipe with a red lentil soup. But I have a sensitivity to it, even though it tastes way better with the celery. There's lots of nutrients in it. I'm not adding it to mine just because I do have a sensitivity to celery. So be mindful whenever you are finding recipes. I know that we talked, Shayna, and I told you some of the resources that you could use by going on Pinterest and just typing in some of your favorite foods and then just putting vegan behind it. Not every recipe is the same, and feel free to make modifications. So if you find a recipe and say it has cumin in it and you don't like cumin, you can easily just remove it,
Okay.
and you don't have to worry about compromising the recipe or anything. Um,
Okay.
another another thing that we're going to do is we're going to be tasting as we go. So as you know, we're all in different regions in the U.S., and your vegetables, your produce is going to taste different depending on where you are. So my onions might be less potent than the onions that you have. You know, if you aren't a fan of garlic, then maybe just put a little bit of garlic. So the ingredients that we have are kind of the bare minimum, and then we're just going to layer on top of it. So as we're cooking it, we're going to add things to it. If you smell a certain spice and you're not really messing with it, it doesn't agree with you, then don't worry about it. So
Okay.
first thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna chop everything just in one container. So over here, I have some veggie broth that I actually froze. So a quick and easy way for you to make your own vegetable broth instead of buying it at the store. Whenever you are cutting up any vegetables, so say you have onions, say you have like the tops to carrots, you have the skin or the tops to cucumbers, bell peppers, the inside with all of the seeds that you usually toss out. Anything you usually toss out, keep it, throw it in a big pot, fill it with water, a little bit of salt, and whatever herbs that you want to use. With this one, I use cilantro, thyme, rosemary, and parsley. And I also use ginger and turmeric. And you just let it simmer for a couple of hours. If you see that it's reducing a lot, then just add more water. And then you can save it in the refrigerator for up to 7 days, or
Mhm.
you can put it in the freezer and you can have it for probably up to a month or two. So I have 3 bottles of the veggie broth that I made on my own. Just using whatever vegetable scraps that I have. And I just kind of have them sitting upside down in the pot so that way they can eventually come out between now and the time that we're done cutting everything up.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with my garlic, and I buy peeled garlic, organic peeled garlic. This is a lifesaver because no one wants to be peeling garlic all day. So it calls for 5 cloves, but I'm doing 2 big ones and then like 5 smaller ones.
Okay.
And another thing that you can use that comes in handy is this. So this is just like a handheld food processor. It comes with a little cup and a blade, and then you push the button and then it comes on. But I'm just kind of wanting to put everything in one spot so you can see all of the garlic just roughly chopped in there. So that's all the garlic that I'm using for this one. I am going to wash and peel the carrots just so we can make sure that we're getting all of the dirt off, any bacteria that might be on the skin. So what I usually do, and I don't know if you're familiar with Rachel Ray. I know that she's been problematic in the past, but growing up, I used to watch her 30-minute meals all the time. And watching her show, she used to always have a garbage bowl, meaning instead of going back and forth to the trash can, anything that she was done with, she would just throw it in a bowl. So that's what I do with my vegetables to make sure that I'm able to keep the scraps to make some more veggie broth. So you should always be able to have veggie broth in your house. So if you're making any type of rice or you're making quinoa like we're making today, then you can have it on standby and use that and still have some of the nutrients from the vegetables instead of having to either purchase them from the store or use water. So the portions that I'm doing are going to be a little bit different than the ones that are in the actual recipe for you, because I did a little bit of meal prepping the other day and I don't want to have too much. Yeah, so don't do that. Should have moved that one further apart. Let me just get a cutting board instead of being difficult. If your pieces are too big, because I'm using the very small down with the carrots, make sure that you're cutting them smaller than I just did then, or else you're gonna be banging away. So about that thin. I'm putting one piece in at a time instead of several like I just did. All right. So next I'm going to get my cherry tomatoes. I'm not going to, I already rinsed these off, but I'm going to give them another rinse. I'm going to just use about half of this pint that I have, but with the cherry tomatoes, you can put those in here as well. Or if you do not want to use them fresh and you're just trying to get this done as fast as possible, you can get a can of diced tomatoes as well. So we'll see how well this goes over and hope it doesn't squirt everywhere. Yes, already doing it. So another way that you can get the tomatoes in there is you can just cut them in half. I'm using cherry tomatoes. I have a carrot here. I'm using cherry tomatoes specifically because they are a little bit less acidic. Well, I'm using grape tomatoes because they didn't have any cherry tomatoes at the store, but I'm using these because they're less acidic than the regular tomatoes that you might see in the store. But you can use any tomatoes that your body will cooperate with. Have you ever taken a food sensitivity test?
Have I?
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm,
Were there?
oh,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
So I'm allergic to corn. I believe it's peanuts, bananas, wheat, and soy.
Okay. So none of these recipes that I gave have any of those in them. I was just asking because if there was anything that's on the list, I would be more than happy to let you know of any modifications that would work for the recipe. All right, I'm just gonna do a handful more and then we'll be done. All right, so this recipe does call for celery. As I said before, I did not do celery in mine, just because I have a sensitivity to celery. I'm a huge advocate of modifying. Don't feel like you can't enjoy a recipe just because it doesn't have an ingredient. Just like with this one, if you can't eat tomatoes, you could always do red bell peppers. But this is gonna be the base for our soup. All right, so you check on the broth, and I'm gonna be moving this camera around so that way you can see exactly what it is that I'm doing.
Okay.
So I'm gonna bring this here. And then I have 2 cans of my veggie broth in here. I'm gonna actually run this one under some warm water so that way it can loosen up a little bit. And since my veggie broth already has salt in it, I'm gonna add just a little bit of spring water to my my base.
Okay.
We're gonna turn this on. So I'm gonna be cooking my soup in this pot here. And then in the pan next to it, I'm gonna use this to go ahead and saute the vegetables that we'll be adding into the soup.
Okay.
All right, let me add the lid on this so that way my broth can simmer down. And I'm going to come on this side. Turn my camera a little bit here. And I am going to get my stove on medium heat, small burner. And I have olive oil here. I'm going to use just a little bit. So about maybe half a teaspoon. And once this heats up, I will then go ahead and add my vegetable mixture. So when it comes to your red lentils, I'm using red split lentils. It's important to make sure that you rinse them, and I'm just gonna rinse them the whole thing in this container here. And the reason you want to rinse them is you can see all of that grime, all of the bubbles. It really, if you can soak them, that would be great as well, because if you have a sensitivity to any type of legumes or peas and they make you gassy, this will help release the acid from the gas and the acid from the actual lentils. So that way you won't have those issues when it comes to digestion. Same thing with rice. You know, soaking your rice also helps. Adding a teaspoon of coconut oil can help with your blood sugar as well, when it comes to you cooking rice. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is get a strainer.
So for the lentils, should I soak them for a couple of hours or overnight?
If you can soak them for at least 4 to 6 hours, that would be great. Overnight is definitely better.
Okay.
So another thing that you can do is you can actually soak them, and then you can soak them, and then you can dry them again. Another thing that you can do that I actually prefer is when you're using lentils, you can actually sprout your lentils before you cook them, and that helps with digestion as well.
Okay.
So to sprout them, you will just make sure you rinse them and clean them off really good. And then you get any type of jar. They have sprouting jars, but you can get like a large mason jar. And
Okay.
then you put just a little bit of water on it, and then you leave it sideways with the lid off, and you can maybe use like cheesecloth so that way it can breathe. Put it in the sun, and then you'll see it sprout in a matter of days.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to do something different. I know that in the recipe, you know, everything's kind of cooked different, but I'm going to saute the vegetables, and then I'm also going to add in the lentils and saute those as well before I put it into the broth.
Okay.
All right, so let's move back over here. All right, so as soon as the carrots are soft, that's when we'll know that this is done cooking down. But what we are going to do now is we're going to go ahead and add 2 bay leaves to our soup.
Okay.
Or our broth. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 bay leaves to there. And then I'm going to go ahead and season this mixture here with the carrots, the tomatoes, the celery that I omitted in mine, as well as the garlic. And I'm going to add the onion in right at the very end because I don't want the onion to burn. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna add just, and you can add whatever seasonings you want to yours. I'm just adding a little bit of rosemary.
Okay.
I'm adding some black pepper. I'm using Celtic salt. And this is just rock salt, some of the healthiest salt that you can use. And again, not using too much because our broth already has salt in it.
Okay.
And I'm also going to add oregano. Turmeric. Turmeric is great for inflammation.
Okay.
And it also adds a nice color. I'm going to add just a little bit of Ceylon cinnamon. And I'm adding fresh thyme into the actual soup. So I'm not adding the thyme into what I'm sauteing. I'm adding this directly into the soup.
Okay.
And not too much. So you can use dried herbs, but I'm going to use some fresh. I'm actually going to put this on medium high. And I'm going to go ahead and chop my onion so I can add that soon. The carrots are on its way to becoming a little bit softer.
And this you can like eat with like on your lunch or dinner.
Yeah, you can eat this whenever. So you can eat this for lunch, you can eat this for dinner. There have been times where I've had soup for breakfast.
Okay.
You can eat it over rice, kind of like an Indian dish. You can eat it over rice. It's completely up to you.
Okay. Mm.
All right, so we have our onion here. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in.
I believe I messed up my Zoom. I'm gonna have to come out and come back in.
Okay, I'll readmit you.
Okay. Oh, you
All right. So while we're waiting, here we go. Admit. I'm going to go ahead and chop up these peppers for the quinoa. So while our soup is cooking, we're going to go ahead and start the quinoa.
You're soaking that quinoa as well?
Pardon?
I said, are you soaking the quinoa as well? I know you're rinsing it, but do you soak it too?
You can, but I don't, just because I don't have any issues when it comes to quinoa and digestion. So with the quinoa, if you are going to soak it, know that your cook time is going to be significantly shorter. So you're going to have to check on it because it does absorb water pretty quickly, just to make sure that it's not going to end up mushy. So I'm going to actually cook my quinoa inside of a pressure cooker, just so it
Yeah,
can
that's
get
what I
done
was going to ask you,
faster.
because it seemed like mine's always end up mushy all the time when I cook it. So I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm doing wrong.
So just use less water. If you're noticing that it's coming out mushy, use a little bit less water than you normally would. And then also make sure that you are allowing it to breathe.
Okay, so uncovered, no
Yes,
lid on.
uncovered. When you have it covered up, it does get a little bit, it does tend to get very mushy.
Okay.
All right, so now I'm gonna add my lentils directly into the pot. And then we're gonna saute this, and then I'm gonna add it directly to my soup mixture. So the recipe is a little different because I want you to be able to cook and eat intuitively, you know, based off of what it is that you feel. If you want to add something, then add it. And then absolutely making sure that you taste as you go. So when you're sauteing the lentils with the vegetables, you're also cooking the lentils a little bit as well. So your cook time will be reduced as well if you saute your lentils before you add them to the broth. And our broth is already reduced now. So I can actually give this a stir. So this is about 4 cups of veggie broth. I have thyme as well as 2 bay leaves that are in there right now. And I'm also going to add coconut cream to mine. If you're not a fan of coconut, or if you are allergic to coconut, then don't worry about it. You would just make sure that you're using more of the water. So once the lentils start to stick to the pan a little bit, that's when I know that it is time for me to add it to the broth mixture. I'm gonna give that a stir. Turn the other stove off so I don't get burnt. So just giving everything a quick little stir, and then I'm gonna cover it halfway. So I'm gonna keep it vented. The pot that I'm using here, this is just a Dutch oven from Amazon. So I'm gonna keep it vented just a little bit. Okay, so now we're gonna start the quinoa while our lentil soup is cooking. I do not add the coconut cream until the soup is about halfway done. I'm actually gonna turn this down to medium right now. It was on a medium high, but I'm just gonna turn it down a little bit. And then we're gonna get start on our lemon and herb quinoa, but first I'm going to clean as I go, because one thing about meal prep is we never want to do it because we don't want to deal with the dishes afterwards. So when you clean as you go, it allows you the ability and the freedom to finish your cooking and also be done with the dishes as well. Were there any recipes that you found on Pinterest that works for you or that you've tried yet?
I haven't tried any just quite yet. So I'm still, I looked at the ones that you had given me.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna try those and then try these. I'm just trying to come up with different, and I'm grateful for this class because I'm gonna use these recipes and then the ones that you had given me to prep my food for the week. So I said I'll try this, for a month plus juicing and everything.
Mhm.
Because I think I'm gonna try to go cold turkey. Because I was thinking if I eat just plant-based, because that's how some people can do it, plant-based, a little bit here during the day
Mhm.
and eating something that they like to transition. But I think me going cold turkey would be better because I don't have to think about eating the foods that I'm just so used to eating.
Mhm.
But I am going to try the ones you gave me and then try these as well to meal prep for the week.
Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing how it goes. And I know going cold turkey is not for everyone. So I commend you for making that choice to just do it. But just know that, you're human
Yeah.
and don't let any hiccups, that may occur or happen, don't let it discourage you from what it is that you're doing. Don't feel like it needs to be done a certain type of way or that you have to be perfect. You're
Mhm.
human and we're here to enjoy this human experience. And part of that human experience is using our senses, one of those main senses being taste.
Yes.
So just make sure whatever you're eating and whatever it is that you're making, make sure it's enjoyable for you.
Okay.
So what I'm doing now is I am getting everything ready for the quinoa. So let me go ahead and actually start the quinoa. So I have to get my veggie broth out of the mason jar. I should have defrosted them in advance. All right. Okay. So I am using so to measure everything, I just use mason jars. This is a 16-ounce mason jar. So this is about 2 cups.
Okay.
And I'm going to actually turn this on so that way I can start melting down this broth while I finish getting everything prepped. What we're going to do, stop yelling at me. There's all kind of noises going on. These pressure cookers, I swear. Why don't you want to close? It says it's on. For everybody that's going to watch back on this, they're going to see me struggling so bad with this pressure cooker.
Mhm.
And I miss my old rice cooker days, but I figured I should get a pressure cooker because then I could make soups with it. It says it's on, so I'm going to just leave it and come back to it later. But what I'm going to do with our lemon and herb quinoa is I'm going to cook the quinoa with garlic and onion. And then I'm going to have on the side, at the very end, I'm going to add in fresh tomato and bell pepper.
Okay.
So it'll be like a mixture of raw and cooked. Yeah, that tomato just decided that it wanted to get all over me. All right, there we go. So I'm not using too much because, as I said, I've been prepping food already because I'm going out of town. So I have some meals that are already made for my daughters. But the fresh components that I'm going to add to this is going to be tomato, peppers, the parsley, the lemon, of course, and I'm going to add some mint as well. Basil tastes nice in it also, but I really enjoy Thai basil, and I haven't been able to find any at our regular grocery store.
Okay.
So this is gonna remain raw, and then we're gonna add this at the very end. This is just the grape tomatoes and a yellow bell pepper. So I'm gonna put this to the side. I'm gonna put it in the fridge so it can stay cold. Or actually, while that's melting, I'm gonna go ahead and add my herbs to this mixture. So I'm just adding parsley, mint, and dill to mine. And you just need the leaves. Put them in here. Oh, this smells very fragrant.
So I know we're in a cooking class, but you were saying you're getting ready to travel. How you're prepping for your cooking as you travel as well?
Typically I do. Lately I have not. I have been slacking. But typically I do. So the main thing that I do whenever I'm traveling, I always make sure that I eat mostly raw when I'm traveling, say I'm dry, or even if I'm flying. When you go to the airport, you are able to take food with you. So as long as it's not a liquid, I might not even, I think you can take certain soups. Like if I were to take this lentil soup and it wasn't watery, or a full liquid, they wouldn't say anything. They would be okay with it. But you can take a whole cooler of food with you to the airport. And I have taken a whole melon with me on a plane and no one says anything. But if you can just get, either disposable containers, or if you have travel containers like these glass ones, I take these with me and I have a travel cooler. So I just use that as my personal item. And then I put usually like my purse in a bigger bag. But yes, prepping for travel is key. When you eat raw when you're traveling, it helps you stay hydrated. So that way you're not having any issues with headaches and things of that nature. I actually just got back from Tampa, and the drive back, or pretty much the whole trip, I was eating stuff that I knew I had no business eating, but I convinced myself that I would be okay. And then sure enough, I ended up getting sick. Because usually when I travel, I cut up fruits, I cut up veggies, I make sure I'm taking bags of, dried fruit, nuts, or even if I'm cooking something, you can make like a raw pasta salad. All of those things are travel friendly. So if you have like some cooler packs and ice packs, those will help keep everything at a good temperature. Or if you're taking fruit, then you don't have to worry about refrigerating, apples and oranges and bananas and stuff like that.
Okay.
That was a good question, because a lot of people say that, oh, I'm traveling, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But yeah, you can still stay on track when traveling. All right, so I have some fresh dill. I love dill, so I'm adding lots of dill to mine. but not the stem. If you get a little bit of the stem from the mint or the parsley, it's fine. But with dill, you just want to make sure you're getting the leaves.
Mhm.
So another thing that you can do, I actually picked this up while I was at the store because I haven't had it in a while, and the ingredients are fairly minimal. Life, which is a vegan cheese brand. Um, I try to avoid the processed vegan stuff as much as possible. But if you do want to, have a little treat, you can add that vegan feta crumble just right on top of this quinoa and just eat that as a meal. And it's so good. You can eat it. So this quinoa that we're making, you can eat it cold or you can eat it cooked. Or if
Okay.
you wanted to pour your soup over it, you could do that as well.
Okay.
I do. Some of this off. And then the last thing that we're going to add is our parsley. So especially with your herbs, if you all have not already looked into it for 2024, look into the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 list. So Dirty Dozen, these are the fruits and vegetables, produce that you'll typically see in the store that they're saying these are heavily concentrated with pesticides and you want to buy these organic as much as possible. Clean 15 are those that are generally safe, but it's best if you purchase those locally. So locally meaning from the US, because a lot of our produce that we get is imported from other countries. Or locally meaning if you have a local farm, a local co-op that's in your area, making sure that you shop with them to get those. So this is called the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So keeping track of that will absolutely help. And then a good rule of thumb would be just thinking about your produce. And when you buy it, anything that's leafy, of course, you know that it's going to be hard. It's very porous. It's going to be very hard for you to get rid of, pesticides or herbicides that might be on it, even if you do clean it. All right, so this is done. And then let me actually cancel. I'm going to put this on the rice setting. But yeah, just making sure that you're keeping up with the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen, shopping with your local farmers, co-ops, all of those are very helpful. So right here, I just have the mixture of the tomatoes, my yellow bell peppers, my herbs, which I use mint, dill, and I also used parsley. I like to do a mixture of dried and, I like to use a mixture of dry and fresh herbs. So I'm going to be adding rosemary directly in with the quinoa. And this is just dried. So don't do what I just did. I just bought this, but you're not supposed to technically put your seasoning bottle right over an open flame. I mean, not open flame, but anything that might produce moisture because it can cause mold and bacteria and things like that to go inside of your seasonings. So I just added rosemary in there. I'm gonna add a little bit of Celtic salt, just a little bit, because we do already have some salt in our broth. And I'm also going to give this a stir. Glasses got fogged up. I'm gonna set this in the fridge so it can stay cool. So you can also add cucumber to this. And you can use this in your mason jar salad. So your quinoa, you can have that and mix it with whatever mixture you have. So what I'm gonna do is once my quinoa has cooled, I'm gonna make another mason jar salad that has kale, it has the vegan feta, cucumber, and then the quinoa with the ranch dressing that we're gonna make as well. But I'm just gonna put this in the fridge for now.
Okay.
So it's colorful.
Mm.
Make sure that you're tasting the rainbow as much as you can throughout the day.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna clean up a little bit over here. Get rid of anything that I don't need. Have my garbage bowl. Move this cucumber. And we're gonna add a little bit of spring water to this. I'm gonna add about a cup. My broth. And then we're gonna rinse the quinoa just like we did the lentils.
So I know you could probably get the information online. Like for the lentils, I know, and the quinoa is the protein.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you're wanting to know how much protein?
yes, because I know you're supposed to have a certain amount of protein a day. So I
Yeah.
know it's that you can eat it like for lunch and dinner.
So quinoa alone, for one serving, you're going to get around 5 grams of protein. And then you'll also have about 5 grams of fiber as well.
Okay.
And then for lentils, I believe you're going to get a bit more. There's an app. I mean, well, there's an app, but there's also some information that I can give you
Okay.
that will help you. Well, really, it's an app where you can kind of plug in, you know, whatever it is that you're making to see what the protein would be for it. All right, so this is just the garlic that I'm gonna throw in to our quinoa. Sorry if I'm making a lot of noise. All right, I'm gonna give this a quick stir and struggle with putting the lid on again. Hopefully I can get it this time. What am I doing wrong here? All right. It doesn't want to cooperate because there's actually a button here. We will turn it this way. I had the lid on the wrong way the whole time. I'm used to working with it facing me, so it was all backwards. So I'm gonna put this on our rice setting. I'm gonna keep the vent open so that way we don't have any mushy quinoa. So next we can actually get started on our oyster mushrooms. I'm gonna actually bring my phone here. Okay. So the way that I like to do the mushroom, there's two ways that you can do this. You can get your mushrooms and you can marinate them, meaning let them absorb and soak all of the flavors, or you can just throw the sauce on it in the pot after you're done. So there's different types of oyster mushrooms that you can use. You can use the yellow, you can use the blue oyster mushrooms, you can use the pink oyster mushrooms. I'm using the king oyster mushrooms. I'm using these because I just want to be able to cut them up. So, and I'm saying cut them up because I am not a huge mushroom person, but oyster mushrooms have been the only mushroom that I can really tolerate. So what we're going to do, or at least what I'm going to do with mine, you can cook yours whole. I'm actually going to dice mine and I'm going to make it into a mince.
Okay.
But what you can do, and I made it this way as well. I believe the recipe might actually be on my Instagram page, is you can marinate it and then you can actually saute it and pan fry it. If you put pressure on it, meaning like if you put like a heavy plate or a heavy bowl on top of it while it's cooking, it'll draw out all of that moisture so that way it won't have that mushroom texture. But if you like the mushroom texture, then to each their own. You can just cook it the regular way. I add pressure to mine because I want all the moisture to be gone out of it. So mushrooms are great for, so these king oyster mushrooms, just to let you know, with this same recipe, you can make it to where it is like a vegan bacon. So if you thinly slice it, you use the same seasonings, you cook it on the stove until all of the moisture is out of it, it becomes crispy and it tastes, well, let me not say just like bacon because I feel like non-vegan people, they're like, it's not bacon, it's mushrooms, but it has the crunchy texture and it has a smoky taste to it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make mine into a mince. Just because me and mushrooms are still, I'm a work in progress. That's what I'll say. All right. So I'm going to, I'm going to use this chopper to chop up my mushrooms. So this is good to eat right on top of the quinoa as well.
Okay.
So the point of us doing the meal prep this way is to help you not feel like you're eating the same thing every single day. A lot of reason kind of fall off on meal prep because they just get tired of eating lentils every day. They get tired of eating quinoa every day. This way you can mix and match it.
Okay.
So you have your soup that you can eat alone by itself, or you can do soup and quinoa hot, or you can do quinoa just cold, or you can do quinoa heated up with your oyster mushrooms on top with the salad, or you can do salad and cold quinoa. You can do a cold quinoa salad, just so that way you can mix it up. So
Yeah.
whenever you're meal prepping, instead of prepping your meals in containers and saying, this is what I'm eating every day, put everything in its own container. Like all of my quinoa is going to go into one. All of my lentils are going to go into one. So that way, whatever I feel like eating for the day, then at that point, I will prepare what I'm eating at that point.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to, everything that I'm putting into the mushroom mixture, it's all going into one container.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put all of my seasonings in there, and then I'm just going to throw it in the skillet and let it cook until all of the moisture is out of it and it's caramelized and it's a little bit crispy around the edges. That's how I'm going to make mine. All right. So, I meant to use a smaller chopper for my garlic, but it's okay. So we're actually going to go and check on the soup. So you can see the way that we're cooking everything. Quinoa takes about 20 minutes. And we started that roughly, a little bit of time after we finished our, after we started our soup. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to bring you over here. Let me get an oven mitt. Here, and we're going to give our red lentil soup a stir. Smelling good already. You can see all of the different colors from everything we added. We have our onions, we have our tomatoes, we have our carrots, our bay leaf, our thyme. So I throw my bay leaves in there whole, my thyme is in here whole also. So the only thing that should be left at a certain point is going to be the stem. And once you see that, you can just take it on out. So now would be a perfect time for me to go ahead and add my coconut, but I am going to give it a taste first. And we're just tasting the broth, like the sauce. All right, so I can tell for me, there's some things that I want to add. I'm definitely going to add, well, first let me recognize what I can taste. I can definitely taste the thyme. I can taste the rosemary. I can taste the garlic. It does need salt. The salt will help bring out the flavors of everything else. What I will always say is you can always add salt, but you can't take it away. So be mindful, start off with just a little bit and then add more. I want a little bit of spice, so I'm gonna add some more white pepper. This is almost gone actually, so I'm gonna just use the rest of it. I'm going to add a little bit more of the oregano. I'm gonna add some more turmeric. And I'm gonna add some organic coconut milk. So this coconut milk that I'm using is from Sprouts. Let me get a can opener. I'm gonna add the whole thing and then let this cook down a bit more. But before I add the coconut cream, I am gonna give it a taste since I added that salt to it. So another thing that you could do is you can actually add tomato paste to this if you do like the more acidic type of flavor. So let me get another spoon and give this a taste. Actually, no one else is eating this. Let me rinse this. All right, so we can see our stem right here. All of our thyme came off of it. So I'm just gonna throw that in the trash. Give our broth a taste. Definitely spicy. And then the coconut cream will kind of even that out. Or coconut milk, sorry. All right, I'm gonna give it a stir. All right, I'm gonna cover this up and let it continue cooking. Get an oven mitt. I'm gonna cover this up completely now. And then we're gonna come back over here. And we're going to finish up our mushrooms. All right, so I'm going to add to one container here. This to the side. All right, so we have our mushrooms and garlic right here. And I am going to now put my dry seasonings on first. And the dry seasonings that I'm going to use, we're gonna keep it simple. We're not gonna add salt to this because the coconut aminos is going to have enough salt in it for the taste that we're looking for. I love rosemary, that's why I'm adding rosemary to everything. But we're gonna do rosemary. I'm gonna get the coconut aminos. I'm also going to get some date syrup. You can use agave. And if you want a nice little char to it, or if you want a smoky type of taste, then you can use liquid smoke and coconut sugar.
Okay.
And then we're also gonna put our olive oil directly on top of this.
Okay.
So we have Let me go grab the coconut aminos and our date syrup. You can add agave also if that works better for you. I'm actually gonna grab the coconut sugar as well. So I'm gonna add just a little bit to mine. All right. So the coconut amino that I use, or that I'm using today, this one has less sodium, Nutiva. So they actually make a coconut mana also. Coconut mana, you can add it to your smoothies. It adds the healthy fats that you need, kind of like avocado, but you know, coconut oil is absolutely great for you as well. So I add the coconut aminos first because these mushrooms will soak it up very quickly. And then I'm going to get a little bit of white pepper. We have smoked paprika. This also adds to the smoky flavor. Give us a good mix. And like I said before, you don't have to cook yours the way that I do. But if you are cooking for someone who does not care for mushrooms, this is a sure way that they might like it a little bit. We're also going to add just a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Just a little. A lot of people prefer to get all of the ingredients and make it into a sauce and then add it onto the mushrooms. But I'm adding mine directly on because I want mine to be dry as possible. And then we're also going to add cayenne and then the olive oil to this. And the coconut sugar and the date syrup. So the date syrup, I'm just adding literally just a splash. So this is cayenne. And then one thing I like to do at the very end, not during, because if you do it during, your whole house is going to be coughing. But there's toasted red pepper flakes that you can use also. You can get it from your local Asian grocery store. Okay. All right, so I'm going to get my coconut sugar. And the coconut sugar is optional. You don't have to use it. Even if you wanted to use brown sugar, you could. If you're using brown sugar, then don't use the apple cider vinegar because brown sugar has vinegar in it already. Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit of oil. And this will just help the mushrooms absorb the seasonings a little bit better. Hear the smell. This smells very meaty. So I am gonna add just a little bit of liquid smoke on mine. And I'm also going to go ahead and turn my burner on to medium heat. Okay, just a little bit of liquid smoke. So as you can see, mine is still very dry. It's wet, but it's still a little bit dry because I'm going to want to cook all of the moisture out of this. All right, so I'm gonna check on my quinoa. Actually, I'm not. I'm gonna see how much time it's on auto. Just a little bit more time. This is the roasted red chili flakes I was talking about. So you get these at the Asian market. These are absolutely amazing. You can use it as a topper. It has a more bold flavor than the regular red chili flakes that you see in the store. Since it's roasted, absolutely amazing. I started eating this a lot when I went to Thailand. See, this is what I meant by the pepper. It's strong. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and check on our stove here. Heating up. You want it to be hot before you put the oil in. And then with this, I am going to just sit the I don't know, I might just sit like this glass bowl with something in it on top of it to just kind of get the moisture out. Or I have a small little cast iron skillet. Cooking this on a cast iron skillet would be best, but my cast iron skillet that I have needs to be re-seasoned, and I am not an expert at seasoning cast iron skillets. Okay. But if you cook this on a cast iron skillet, you are getting iron, of course, but it also gives you a nice char, like that nice smoky char type that you get on grilled meat. So, all right, let's move over here. And the good thing about cooking vegan food is you can taste everything as you go and not have to worry about getting sick. If you wanted to taste your mushrooms right now, you could, because it's not meat and you don't have to worry about anything happening to you. So we put enough in there so we can kind of coat the bottom of the pan. All right. Let's see what our quinoa is doing. Yeah, it doesn't want to open. So I'm assuming that it's still doing what it needs to do. That's the only thing about using a pressure cooker. You can't check on it as you're trying to go through the process of cooking. But you can see when the olive oil is just moving around very easily, it's not kind of sticking anywhere. That's when you know it's ready. Let me grab my spatula here and I'm gonna dump. I'm gonna turn this down to medium. And put my mint mushrooms directly in. It smells so good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move it around the pan first. I'm actually gonna put this right back on medium high. Move it around the pan, and then I'm just going to spread it out. let the moisture come out naturally. And then after a little bit, I'm gonna press down on it to get more of the moisture out before I stir it up a little bit. So if you're making like a whole oyster mushroom, like a bundle of it, then you'll just push down on it as soon as you put it in the pan. And then you'll see the water come out. Once the water comes out, once that water dissolves, that's when you flip it. And then you press down again, and then you just kind of go back and forth throughout that process. So I'm gonna add the date syrup towards the end. But you can see a lot of this water. You can see a lot of the water coming out. Because all we had in here was oil before. So all of that, that's water. We're going to let the water come out, and then we're gonna let the mushrooms reabsorb it.
Okay.
All right, so now that our mushrooms are on, now this is where we start to multitask. We have soup, we have quinoa, we have mushrooms. We're gonna make our salad dressing, and then from there, we will be able to start assembling our mason jar salad. And then by the time we're done with that, everything should be done for you to just pack up and put away. And then of course we have our dessert, which is the peach cobbler cups. I'm not going to do the cups because I bought the paper cups and then I realized that my muffin pan is actually at my mom's house.
Okay.
But I'm gonna do something a little bit different on my end. I have a bundt pan, so I'm gonna make some mini, I guess, peach cobbler bunts. So essentially I'll just, instead of me putting the crumble on top, I'll put the crumble on the bottom, and then I'll just turn it over and then be able to eat them that way. But for you with the cups, it's just easier because then if you just want to pack it up and eat it that way, you can. Another way that I could do this, and I actually might do it this way because I have greedy people in my house. I have ramekins. So if you have ramekins, which are these, you can put these in the oven.
Okay.
So you can make personal sizes. So I actually think I'm going to do that instead. So that way I don't have to worry about storing everything. We can just wrap that up and go. Check on the mushrooms. Water is cooking down. I just want you to see. So you see how the water is cooking down?
Yeah.
You can see it sizzling. You can see all of the herbs. All right, so let me grab my ingredients for our dressing. And our blender. And you have a blender, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm actually gonna stir this up. Since I'm doing a mince, mine is cooking a lot faster than it normally would.
Okay.
I'm gonna move it to one side, move it to the other, kind of bunch it up. And just press as much of the water out as I can.
Okay.
So since I minced it, it's actually doing a really good job at not having a lot of water. So I can actually just let this continue cooking down, spreading it out as much as possible, and then giving it a stir every now and then. And I'm going to turn my heat down to medium so that way it doesn't burn. And I'm also gonna give my soup a good stir. We're gonna check on that since we added the coconut cream or coconut milk. Sorry, you can add coconut cream too if you want it to be creamy. All right, so this is on medium heat. I'm actually gonna turn it to low. And this is actually just about done because I have not added, I didn't do as much as the ingredients call on the actual recipe that I created. So we're gonna turn this off.
Okay.
We're gonna let it vent. And then it'll thicken up as it sits.
Okay.
All right, so our soup is done and it has been roughly about, 30, 40 minutes. We put it on about what, 5:30-ish. So we're right on time for that. Our mushrooms are cooking down. Our quinoa has about it says 11 minutes left, but I don't know if I trust that. So I'm actually gonna turn it off and then peek inside because I don't ever feel like I can trust these pressure cookers on the rice cooker setting. And I was right. So quinoa's done. Glad I checked. And I'm going to let it sit with the lid off.
Okay.
Just so it can kind of cool down. I'm actually gonna unplug it. And then I'm gonna fluff it up and then we're gonna put it in a container and we're gonna add our lemons. We're going to add our mixture of our peppers, tomatoes, and herbs. And then I might put a little bit of lemon zest on it also.
Okay.
So I prefer to eat this quinoa salad cold, but it's completely up to you what you want to do with it. You can even add carrots to it if you want. I'm actually going to change. No, we'll keep the same one on here. All right, so let's go ahead and make our dressing.
Okay.
So the dressing that I have on here calls for half a cup of hemp seeds, almond milk, water, garlic, lemon juice, parsley, dill, salt, black pepper, olive oil, tahini. Tahini is going to be the main ingredient in this dressing. Tahini is just ground up sesame seeds.
Okay.
It has a very earthy type of flavor to it, but it adds a sorry, I said we were going to turn that soup off and then I left it on. I was like, what is that noise? But it adds a creaminess to your dressing. The hemp seeds are great for adding just a little bit of nuttiness, a little bit of texture. Hemp seeds are very high in protein. So the hemp seeds that you're adding to the dressing, that is how you're going to get your protein with your salads. I mean, along with the lettuce and the kale or whatever it is that you're using, because all leafy greens have protein in them as well.
Yes.
But if you're looking to add protein to any type of meal that you're making, think of your legumes or your lentils. Think about adding sliced almonds, sunflower seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds. All of those are great for protein, flaxseed even. I'm one of those people that can't have flax seeds. But all of those are different options, things that you can quickly add to a salad or things that you can snack on.
Okay.
Even if you're making a smoothie, adding in almond butter, adding in cashew butter, sunflower butter, all of those are going to be great sources of protein as well.
Okay.
All right, so let me get my ingredients. I'm going to give our mushrooms a stir.
Okay.
So that way we can make sure that they don't burn. They're looking really, really good and they're cooking very fast. And I'm still pushing down on them to see if there's any moisture that's stuck in there. And this is a good salad topper as well, the oyster mushrooms, if you're looking for another variety. All right, so I'm using coconut milk. One of my favorite brands of plant-based milk is the organic Califia Farms, and that is because it's only a few ingredients. So usually with plant-based milks, when you buy them from the store, you'll see they have like ascorbic acid, different gums and preservatives and stuff in them that make them thicker. But with these, you're only doing water, nuts, and salt. That's it. But the organic one only. And I always wonder to myself, why is it that, you know, these companies have like an organic one and then they have a regular one? Why don't they just make them all the healthy one without all of the crap in it? But yeah. So I'm not going to make a lot of this because just me. And I'm also not adding water to mine because I want mine to be thick, like a dip.
Okay.
But if you want yours to be more so the consistency of a dressing, then definitely make sure that you are adding more liquid to it. So I'm gonna add my tahini. Okay. I'm going to add my garlic. I'm not going to mince my garlic because I'm blending it all up. And it's fresh, so I'm only adding 2 cloves. 2.5. Put this up. And I'm going to give my mushrooms a stir. And they're actually almost done.
Okay.
So since they're almost done, I'm going to go ahead and add the date syrup. And I'm only adding just a drizzle. So this is going to add a final char to it. So you can see it's getting nice and crispy.
Oh, yeah, looks good.
You can use way more mushrooms if you're using this for meal prep. I'm only using a little bit because this is not something that I would take on the road. We want to keep it spread out, keep a nice little thin layer. Don't want it to burn, so that's why we are cooking this on medium low heat. All right, and then we're going to need our lemon juice. So it says a tablespoon. I'm going to use maybe about 1/4 of this lemon. Seeded lemons. I'm gonna do it into the bowl because I don't know if there's any more seeds in this or not. Okay, we got our lemon. Next up, we're gonna get our dill, parsley, salt, and our olive oil. It's okay if you put your I'm not gonna do too much because I'm only making a little bit, but it's okay if you put your stems in this because it's all going to be blended up.
Okay.
Yeah. So it calls for a teaspoon. I'm just using enough to get a pinch. And I like mine to be very, very herby and earthy. More like a green goddess dressing.
Okay.
Lots of dill. And like I said, we're just gonna throw the whole thing in there. If you have the stems, it's okay.
Okay.
And I'm actually gonna turn the heat off of the mushroom. I'm gonna give it one more stir and then I'm gonna turn the heat off. So our dill in. And we're going to get a container for our mushrooms, which will be this one. So the mushrooms actually got finished first.
Okay.
So let me put this to the side. Multitasking is key when you're meal prepping. You're kind of all over the place, so you have to keep everything in mind and make sure nothing burns. So we're going to put our mince into this container here. And don't let anything sit out. As soon as it's done, pack it up. Whatever you're not eating, pack it up and put it in the fridge. Because we don't want any unnecessary harmful bacteria or things, improper food temperatures. We don't want anything like that going on with our meal prep that we're going to be eating throughout the week.
Okay.
And we're cleaning as we go. I like to use the same 2 pots for everything if I can.
Okay.
I have to let this soak actually. All right, so the last thing that we're going to do with our mushrooms is we're just going to garnish it with some cilantro. And then we're going to pop it in the fridge. Quinoa looks like it's about ready too. I'm going to actually garnish with cilantro and parsley.
Okay.
But we're just doing leaves because we don't want to taste the stems. And whatever stems you're not using, you can always put those in your broth.
Okay.
So I always recommend maybe prepping your vegetables the night before, meaning dicing, cutting everything up. So that way you can make a broth that'll be ready for your actual meal. All right. And then I'm gonna get all right, and then I got a little bit of cilantro out of the fridge. Cilantro leaves are okay to eat.
Okay.
I mean stems. So cilantro is great for detoxing the body of heavy metals.
Okay.
And one thing that I used to do a lot, and I feel like I need to get back to it,
Okay.
is I used to drink cilantro water. So you know how you can infuse water with like cucumber or lemon?
Yes.
If you get a handful of cilantro, put it in the pitcher, put some spring water in it, let it sit in the refrigerator overnight, and you drink it throughout the day, you're automatically helping your body detox from heavy metals. It does not taste, the water will not taste like cilantro.
Okay. I like cilantro.
So me too. I love it. Every time I hear people say they don't like cilantro, I'm like, oh my God.
Um,
I put cilantro on everything if I could.
Me too.
Okay. All right. So we have, keep dropping my rosemary in the sink. All right. So right now we have our mushroom mince that's done. I'm adding my roasted chili flakes right on top, just a little bit, because when I tell you this stuff is serious, it's pretty potent. All right, so this is what we have.
Okay.
Our mushroom mince. Yours will look a little different,
Okay.
but I'm gonna go ahead, put my lid on it, pop it in the fridge for the week. All right, so I'm taking out my herbs and peppers. I'm just gonna sit it to the side for now because we were in the middle of making our dressing.
Okay.
So we had our lemon, we have our parsley, we have our dill. We added our tahini. I'm gonna add a little bit of white pepper.
Okay.
You can use black pepper, that's fine. I like lots of pepper in mine. Let me get some salt.
Okay.
I'm gonna add Celtic salt. This is another one we're gonna taste as we go. And then we're gonna add just a little bit of olive oil.
Okay.
Just a little bit. You could use coconut oil if you want, but this will help marry all of the flavors.
Okay.
We're adding just a little bit. And let me get my blender. This NutriBullet is my favorite. I had the old NutriBullet a while ago, and then I broke it. But when I broke it, I had it for, I don't know, about 10 years before I finally broke it. So then I upgraded to the new one that comes with the big one as well as the smaller one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then we're actually going to add the hemp seeds as well to this. And then we're going to blend it all up.
Okay.
So let me grab.
Yeah, I think I have a NutriBullet as well, but I think I have the older version.
I love the old one. I stand by it. NutriBullet has just such great quality when it comes to their product, because I think the warranty was only a couple of years, but I had mine for 10. And the only reason it broke was just user error. Like I mean, you could get replacement cups off of Amazon.
Okay.
And then even the blades, you can get replacement blades, but after that last blade stopped working, it was like leaking black stuff off the bottom. After that, I was like, I'm just gonna treat myself and upgrade. All right. So the little people in my house have moved something. Oh, here it is. All right. Oh, let me add the hemp seeds 1 second.
I know everyone has their own way of storing like fruits, and I've seen you make a lot of smoothies on your Instagram. How do you store your fruit? Because I know I'll buy a lot of fruit, and then I know some fruit go in the refrigerator and some stay on the counter.
Yeah. So for me, before I turn this on, but for me, what I do is there's just certain fruits. There technically you can leave everything out. But once it's been in the refrigerator, if you bought it refrigerated, then keep it refrigerated. So, you know, sometimes you'll go to the store and you'll see the strawberries just out.
Yeah.
You can keep your strawberries out, or you can put them in the fridge, but you can't go back and forth.
Okay.
Apples, you can put them in the fridge, you can leave them out. I usually put some in the fridge and then leave some out. And
Okay.
then oranges, I'll put some in the fridge and I'll leave some out, but I just like my fruit cold.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, I think the rule of thumb is however you buy it, that's how you should store it.
okay.
And then also when it comes to berries, if you are keeping it out, make sure that you're eating them like within a day or two of bringing them home.
Okay.
And also if they're in the refrigerator, even if you see like one blueberry, two blueberries, one strawberry that's molded, typically what I do at that point is I'll take the molded ones out, wash the rest of them off, and then put them in the freezer and use them for smoothies.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so don't, when you see your fruit starting to turn and do things, just get rid of the bad ones. The
Okay.
rest, don't throw it out. Just put it in the freezer. Like, we don't want to contribute to food waste. So just
Yeah.
like we're using our scraps to make vegetable broth, we're going to want to use our fruit and use those for smoothies.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to put this on medium.
I told everyone in my family about this class that you're having. I said, you know, I've got to go. I've got this class I got to go to. I was so excited.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. So if you see that your so this isn't on the recipe, but this is one thing that is a game changer.
Okay.
So always taste as you go. I say that all the time, taste as you go, taste as you go. So with this dressing, if you see that it's too, you know, watery or it's not as thick as you want, taste it first.
Okay.
But the flavor of this is absolutely amazing. I'm not changing anything, but I want it to be a little bit thicker, but I don't want it to be grainy. So what I'm gonna do is
Okay.
I'm actually going to add something to thicken it. So there's different ways that you can thicken your dressings. Cornstarch would be a good option, but for you, you cannot do corn. Therefore, what I'm going to recommend is where did I put it though? Hold on. So we're going to use, and I wish I would have just left this out, but I didn't.
That's okay.
Oh, here it is. It was where I left it. We're going to use psyllium husk powder. This is an
Okay.
excellent source of fiber. Your stomach, your gut will love you for this.
Okay.
So I'm just going to add a little bit of psyllium husk, and then I'm going to blend it up some more. You don't need a lot, but what do they have, like the powders that they use for fiber? Is it Metamucil? Is that it? Can't
Yes,
remember.
it is.
So this is like nature's Metamucil,
Okay.
but without any chemicals or anything in it. Your gut will love you for this. All right. And the great thing about it is there's no taste to it.
Okay.
Okay. So you can actually add it to smoothies, anything you would like. Let me taste it. I like the spice. I do want a little bit more tahini in mine though. All right, so we're gonna add a little bit more tahini. and then we're gonna bottle this.
Okay.
I think we can actually move the camera here. So if you're wanting more of a white color, what I would recommend for you is to add the grains at the very end and just pulse it.
Okay.
Let me get a spoon because I just threw mine in the sink. Perfect. Okay. So I just have my little bottles here, and I'm going to
get all your bottles from Amazon?
to be honest, I repurpose a lot of my bottles. Like this bottle I got from I'm actually gonna use a different one because it's had water in it. This bottle was from some juice.
Okay.
So I bought some juice and it was in like this cute bottle, and I was like, I'm keeping this.
Right.
So I just repurpose everything that I get if I get a bottle, because glass can be reused.
Yes.
I don't reuse any plastic or anything. So even if you have like, that's why when you're going shopping,
Okay.
go ahead and, you know, spend a little bit extra if you see something that comes in a glass bottle.
Okay.
Even if you're buying like a salad dressing, it will come in handy when you want to make your own salad dressing and you need something to put it in.
Okay.
So there we have it. We have our salad dressing. Mine is green because I blended everything all in one. I'm gonna throw this in the fridge. I'm gonna give my soup a stir.
Okay.
I need to use my oven mitt here. I'm gonna get a new spoon because I did something with my other. So let me bring the camera over here so you can see what's going on, because the soup, after you turn it off, it may be a little bit watery. If you see that it's watery, do not be alarmed. Know that when you let it sit, it will thicken up.
Okay.
So you see now our soup is thickening up. Once it completely cools, you'll have a thick soup.
Okay.
I like mine more so on the less thicker side. I like mine to be very thin.
Okay.
Just because I will be eating this as a soup. But if you want more of a stew type of texture, then I would say cut your vegetables larger instead of cutting them smaller. And then also use less water or broth.
Okay.
So instead of using the whole thing of instead of using coconut milk, maybe use coconut cream, and that will change the texture and the consistency of it.
Okay.
So yours doesn't have to, be like mine. So next I'm actually going to leave this dressing out. So this dressing is actually excellent on this quinoa when it's cold. So that is another thing that you can do. I'm going to put this to the side because I didn't have enough room for it. I'm going to move my blender. See, okay, so we're doing okay on time. We're going to put our quinoa together. And like I said, exactly 2.5 hours. You should not be in the kitchen. I know some people, they meal prep and like we're talking to, so you could probably get it done sooner. But a lot of people, they're meal prepping and they're saying it's taking them like 4 or 5 hours. No, we don't have time for that at all. So this is cooled down enough for me to just take it out. I'm going to get a fork. And I'm just going to fluff. So you can see we do not have any mushy quinoa. You can just fluff it up. And this is why another thing that helps get fluffy quinoa, whenever it's done cooking, don't stir it right away.
Okay.
let it sit with the lid off for a little bit, so that way it can do what it needs to do, and
Okay.
then you can eat it after. All right, so I'm going to get another container. I need to make sure I have no, I don't want to use this big one. We're going to use that big one for the soup.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to get my quinoa and we're going to dump it. Make sure you can see. We're going to dump it in here. I'm not even going to put all of this in here because I'm going to eat some of this for dinner tonight. So whatever quinoa is left in here is going to be dinner.
Okay.
And then the rest is going in the fridge. And then we're going to add our lemon. Make sure there's no seeds. We're going to add our lemon right on top. Whoops. Okay. I feel like a seed came out, but I don't see anything. So I assume it's fine. We're gonna stir our quinoa up a little bit. And then we're gonna add our raw veggies and our herbs. So I'm not gonna add this whole thing. I'm gonna use some of this for salads.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna add, enough to be a good garnish and to get the taste. Side. Let me actually move this out of the way.
Okay.
All right, there we go. Let me move this here. Your kitchen will be a mess when you're meal prepping, but it's okay. We're just gonna clean as we go.
Okay.
All right, so our lemon and herb quinoa is done. So we're just mixing in our herbs. We're gonna give this a taste to see if we need to add any more lemon. If you wanna add lemon zest to this, you can. You should be able to taste all of the raw herbs. You should be able to taste the rosemary infused inside of the quinoa.
Okay.
And I'm actually gonna use this fork because it's mine. I don't think it needs anything else. So you can put more salt on it if you want to, like a finishing salt.
Okay.
Mine is not very salty on purpose.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna be using this as a base.
Okay.
And if I'm eating it by itself cold, I'm gonna add dressing on it.
Okay.
So just like with rice, we don't add a bunch of stuff to rice if we're eating it by itself. So this is your quinoa, nice and fluffy. So we know our rules. Get a good look. So we know our rules that we'll use whenever we're making quinoa. Whenever we're gonna use less water, we're going to make sure that when it's done, we're gonna take the lid off and we're gonna let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes before we fluff it with a fork. So don't stir it immediately because that's what's gonna make it mushy.
Okay.
Okay. So next thing is done. We're gonna put this in the fridge.
Okay.
All right, and then I'm gonna actually put this to the side and I'm gonna go ahead and put my soup up as well. I'm only gonna leave out what I'm going to eat.
Okay.
So it's still a little warm. I'm gonna use my oven mitt. I can find it. Let's leave this here. I tried it though. And I had 2 oven mitts, but it's like, where's my other? oven mitt. So we'll use this. And we're just going to dump our soup right in from the side.
Mm.
I'm going to keep the bay leaf in it.
Okay.
And that's done. So for everything that we've made, we've only used 3 different skillets or pots. So really, you could use this Dutch oven. You could use that for the quinoa as well. Just make your soup first. When the soup is done, then make the quinoa, or you can make your quinoa first, put it up. But the key is to not get burnt out or overwhelmed by meal prepping. Just
Okay.
make sure that you're not using a bunch of different tools that you don't necessarily need.
Okay.
Okay, so this is our soup. Let me bring the over here. Our soup is done. And we're just gonna add our parsley and cilantro on top for garnish. And then this is going in the fridge. All right. So let me get my top for this. I just had it.
What is that?
I'm gonna have to ask my daughter where she put it, unless I was the one that put it in the dishwasher. All right, I was in the middle of washing dishes.
Okay.
And for some reason I hand washed the actual container, and then was like, oh, I'm over it. Let me just put the lid in the dishwasher, as if I didn't have to use it.
Right.
All right, so I'm just going to wipe this off. Okay, so now this is done.
Okay.
And we can put it in the refrigerator.
Okay.
All right. So next, the only thing that we have to do is our dessert. So we have our dressing, that's done. I think the mason jar salad kits are self-explanatory. You put your dressing on the bottom, and then you put your crunchy vegetables right over the dressing. Then you put your soft vegetables on top of the crunchy ones, and then you put your actual lettuce. I do not recommend putting any nuts or anything in with the lettuce, because they'll lose their crunch. So just keep those like in a little Ziploc bag to the side. And when I say hard and soft, so your hard vegetables would be like your root vegetables, your carrots, your beets, if you're putting beets in there. Parsnips are amazing if you have not had parsnips. Parsnips are absolutely delicious. And then your soft vegetables would be like your tomatoes, your cucumbers, your legumes. So if you're adding like white beans or kidney beans or black beans, and then your lettuce last. So the way that I'm describing this is, I was imagining it upside down, but you get it. So essentially what you'll do is when you're ready to eat it, you'll just shake it up.
Okay.
So that way everything can mix. Or what you could do is just get a bowl and then dump it and then lift it up, and then everything will be laid out exactly how it's layered in the jar.
Okay.
So I'll do one just to give an example, because I did harvest some lettuce today from my indoor garden.
Oh, wow.
Just to give you an idea. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll get started on our
I don't know if you showed a video on
dessert.
that indoor garden. Wow.
Yeah, so I'll actually show you. That's why I'm so glad that I have my phone here. So I have an indoor hydroponic garden. I have a couple of them, but I only have one set up currently.
Okay.
So this is it. So this one is by Garden. I also have one that's by Let Us Grow. That one is outside, but it's not being put to use now.
Oh,
So I have a little pepper, or let me actually turn the camera.
okay.
Let me see. All right. So I have a little baby pepper that's growing there. I don't know if you can
Oh,
see
wow.
it. I have kale.
Oh,
And
wow.
then this right here is going to be a cucumber plant. And I just replanted these. So I did have a ton of lettuce. And then I harvested it today. Um,
Wow.
uh, with the lettuce, there's a couple of things that you have to do differently. You either have to eat it right away, or if
Okay.
you're not eating it right away, then you have to give it an ice bath in order for it to get crisp. Because since it's fresh and is being cut directly from the plant, the leaves are very soft. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna
Mm,
add my dressing.
wow. So the actual what do you call it? It's white. So the item that you're using to plant, where do you get that from? Where do you,
So the hydroponic tower that I have it's from a company called Garden,
oh,
Gardyn,
okay.
and they sell their hydroponic gardens. You can buy them on Amazon. You can buy them directly through them. I know they have some specials going on now. I have a countertop one that's right here as well. So this is another hydroponic garden. This is like a little countertop one with a grow light. And
Oh,
this one is great for growing herbs
okay.
instead of having to get them from the store. But the tower comes, you can buy your seedlings from them. So they have um like they have an option for you to buy the plants already, like the sprouted plants, and
Okay.
then you just put them in your tower and then let them
Okay.
grow.
Okay.
But what I do is I plant all of mine by myself, the seed to sow. So I buy the pods off of Amazon, which are
Okay.
just like small little pods. And then I have my own seeds. Like I have a basket full of seeds over here. So these are my seeds. Some of them I've harvested myself. Some of them I have from, that I purchased from the store. I make sure that I get the organic ones.
Okay.
That I just put them inside, and I have another grow lamp. So I
Okay.
start the seeds there, and then they grow from the grow lamp. And then once they start sprouting, that's when I put them into the hydroponic garden.
Oh, wow.
But there's
Mm,
a couple of different ones. This was the first one that I had. This is what I started off with. So you
okay.
can grow lettuce in here, you can grow kale, you can grow like a small cherry tomato plant, you grow all of your herbs. I like the larger one just because I just want more. So
Yes.
that one can hold about like 28 or 32 plants.
Oh,
The one that I have outside, that one can hold about 22 plants. And then I have another one by Produce for All, which is actually a Black owned business. So he's here in Atlanta and it's called Produced for All. But ATL Grows, or is it? I don't think it's ATL Grows. I can't remember the name of the actual person who invented it, but he's absolutely amazing. Like he has a strong passion for gardening and growing plants. And I was actually one of the individuals I was lucky enough to test the hydroponic garden for him. I had it for about 2 years, and my plants have never grown as fast as they did when I was using his.
oh, wow.
So it's absolutely amazing. So he'll send you the plants as well for you to plant and directly put them into your hydroponic garden. But there's many different options out there.
Okay.
What I do like about Produce for All is they allow you to have payment plans. So you
Okay.
can actually rent one or you can buy it and then do a payment plan for it.
Okay.
So I'll make sure that I'll send you his page on Instagram.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah,
You
because I
are
don't
very
have
welcome.
so I live in an apartment, but that will help me a great deal until I get like a house of my own where because I definitely I would like to have a garden so I can
Mhm.
grow my own fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm in a house now, and to be honest, I have grown things in my yard, not at this house, at my old house. I have grown watermelons, I grew kale, I grew purple string beans, I grew everything in my garden. But there's just something about having the hydroponic garden and me being able to take it with me wherever I go, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. Soil is expensive. Like
Okay.
soil is really expensive, and the amount of money that it spent for me to garden. And but I will say there's nothing like, having your own garden and actually touching the food that you're growing. And
Right.
but I will say that there are things that I would choose to grow outside versus inside. There's things that I would choose to grow inside versus outside. So
Mhm.
one of those things would be, I am not going to grow, watermelons inside is it's not feasible.
Right.
But I can grow my leafy greens inside, and I don't have to worry about any pests or aphids getting on them. I don't have to
Mhm.
worry about caterpillars or squash
Yeah.
beetles eating them up.
Right.
And it's like, but they don't like my watermelons. So I can
Okay.
plant the watermelons outside. I can plant my root vegetables outside.
Okay.
I can plant, the rosemary. I can plant the mint and stuff outside. Would
Okay.
I eat it? Probably not, because I'm using it more so for pest control than for consuming.
Okay.
We just went down a whole rabbit hole about gardening. I
I
love
just
it
wanted to
though.
chime in on that because I'm growing a garden and I have a deck. So I
Yeah.
don't have a lot of grass out there outside.
Hmm.
So it's just like a deck. So I'm using fi- so if I don't know, like if you have a
Oh,
balcony
your sound was breaking up a little
in your
bit.
outside in the oh, I was just saying, I don't know if you have a balcony outside your apartment and you can probably grow in like the 5-gallon buckets
Okay.
because I've been doing that.
Yeah.
This is like my third year doing it. I've grown tomatoes, peppers, arugula, kale. I mean, I have a variety of different vegetables. So you might want to try that. You can always look it up on YouTube and see how
Okay.
to grow your vegetables if you got a little small deck in a small area.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea. Because I'm on YouTube all the time looking up just different types of ways to grow things in smaller spaces. And what I heard was that it's actually better to grow your tomatoes in the 5-gallon containers rather than growing them directly into the ground or in a raised bed.
Okay. I did
So
not.
I think that's excellent. I definitely want to tap into that a little bit more because I just want to be able to, I'm renting. So whenever I leave, like
Yeah.
it's renting is a gift and a curse. Like it's amazing because you don't
Mhm.
have to worry about a lot of things. You don't have to worry about yard work. You don't have to worry about, getting the AC or HVAC replaced and paying out of pocket. But at the same time, whatever, anything that I add on to this, I can't take it with me. Like the house that I sold, I grew a peach tree in the back. I put raised garden beds that were permanent. And it's like, I don't know if the owners kept it or not. I hope that they did, but it's just those types of things like you can't take it with you.
Right.
So I am all for just finding new ways to garden and knowing that at any time, if I want to take it with me, that I
Yeah, that 5-gallon bucket you can definitely take with you
can.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely like I love it, and I love these conversations. I know, I mean, it all goes hand in hand because we're cooking,
Yeah.
but growing your own food, where just because of where we are at now in the States, growing your own food is almost like a must. It's like you have
Yeah.
to, because you can't trust. It's like every single day I get on social media, whether it's TikTok, they're like, did you know? And I'm like, oh, another thing that I have to worry about.
I know, I'm like, wow.
Another thing that I have to worry about. So just to let you know what I did so far, my dressing on the bottom, I put my carrots, and then I put my tomatoes, and then I have, so a couple of things that I like to do to jazz up my salads. Marinated artichoke hearts. You guys, do not sleep on this. Like, if you are like, every time I get these, it just adds a little bit of extra flavor. You don't need to strain it or anything, but it reminds me of, like, you know, you're making a little chicken salad or something, and but it's artichokes. It doesn't have like a briny taste or anything. The texture is very pleasant.
Yeah.
So I just cut up some marinated artichokes directly from the jar in there. Or if you want to add, you know, pickled red onion, if you want to add some, what do they have it? You know how they have like pickled okra and the green beans? Like, you can add any of those to this. I'm adding a lot because it's going to be my lunch for tomorrow. I'm trying to be a gym girly again, so hopefully the meal prep will help.
Yeah.
All right, so we added artichoke hearts. You can use heart of palm. That's another option as well. And I was telling you guys about this, but I'm gonna show you.
Okay.
So my favorite, and I am not encouraging you to do this. I'm just treating myself this today. The Life vegan feta, this right here, amazing on salads. So I'm only going to use a little bit because I'm treating myself. And keep in mind, everything that we use, only 2 of those things are processed, which would be the artichoke hearts and then this feta, which I didn't even have on the list for you guys. But this right here, I don't think I ever had feta before. I don't think I ever tasted feta, regular feta. A lot of things I didn't have until I never had like the regular version of it. So this is one of those things. I never had dairy feta, but I've only had vegan feta and I love it.
Okay.
Like, my first time ever tasting a crab cake was a vegan crab cake. So everybody, they're like, does it taste like the real thing? I'm like, I don't know. It's good though.
Right.
All right, so I'm gonna put the rest in here. So I'm going to actually put my pepper and herb mixture on here. Okay. Right on top of the artichokes. And you know, another thing that you could do is, if your quinoa is already cooled, you can add that right on top of this and have this as a meal. Okay. But I'm gonna add this, and I'm gonna use the lettuce from earlier because I have to use it before I leave. I don't want it to go bad. All right, so we have that, and then I'm going to get just a small piece of feta, and it does crumble just like I imagine, you know, regular feta to crumble. Yeah. I'm not even gonna have enough room for lettuce in here because I got one of my small mason jars. I don't know where my larger ones are. Okay. So we got our feta. Wash your hands off.
I wanted to say, I've seen a lot of, I think you also have it on your website where you go on a lot of retreats. So hopefully I'll be able to go on one of your retreats for the women.
I would love to have you. Yeah, I would love to have you. What area are you located in?
I'm in Maryland.
Maryland. I used to live up there. I lived in Columbia.
Okay.
Well, I lived in Laurel and then I moved to Columbia.
Oh wow, yeah, Laurel's not bad.
right, so this is my lettuce. This is actually my lettuce that I harvested from my garden.
Oh, wow.
It's not as crispy as I want it to be, so I'm gonna add more ice to the top of it and just
Okay.
let it sit there for a couple of days. So I'm just gonna use kale. I'm gonna dice up some kale and add that to this, but I'm just gonna add some ice on top. So that way, whenever you do start gardening and you're harvesting your lettuce,
Okay.
if you need to harvest it really quick, but you don't necessarily want to eat it right away,
Okay.
a way to preserve it and to make sure that you can save it is just
Ice on it.
get a little salad spinner and just put some ice water in it. So that way when all the ice melts, you can just lift it out and then use it. So the kale will be kind of the same way
Okay.
as far as it'll look like it's wilted after it just kind of sits for a minute, but it's not. Are you
Okay.
guys okay with going over for maybe about 15 minutes so we can get the peach cups done?
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna get some kale. Uh-oh. And I'm actually gonna teach you guys a little trick.
Okay.
So I'm going to get my kale here. This has already been washed off, but I'm gonna wash it again.
Okay.
So there's two tricks that you can do in order to get some really fine cut kale. You can use a knife and just cut it, which is the way that I usually do it. Or you can just toss it into a blender and then pulse it until it gets to just a very fine texture, and
Okay.
then just dump it on top of your salad. But I'm actually not going to do that because the base of my blender still has salad dressing on it.
Okay.
So I'm going to mince. I said I'm going to mince my salad. Where did I put my knife? You guys, I'm all over the place.
Okay. Mm.
All right, so I'm gonna get my kale here and I'm gonna cut it up as small as possible. And then I'm gonna massage it just a little bit. So I'm gonna get a little bit of olive oil and drizzle it right on top. And then I'm gonna massage it. When you massage it, it actually makes it to where your kale won't be tough. So if you've been somewhere and you had a kale salad and you're just chewing forever, you're chewing for days, when you massage it a little bit, and we're not going to massage it a lot. Like if I were going to eat this right now, I could massage this as much as I wanted and eat it right away. But we're going to massage it enough just to kind of release the toughness from the kale. And then it'll still be a little bit chewy. So that way we're not having a soggy, watery salad because we are releasing water from it. So we're going to take the stems out because the stems are tough. And then I'm going to get my olive oil and I'm just going to drizzle just a little bit. And when you massage it, you're also releasing the stems.
Okay.
So like I said, you can massage this all the way down, but I'm not doing that because we want to make sure that our salad does not get soggy. Okay. And we're gonna stuff our kale in. Your green should be your very last step in your salad. And I'll probably just put this salad right on top of a bed of the cold quinoa.
Mhm.
And then now you just put the lid on it. And then you have your mason jar salad. You can use the big quart size for these if you want a big salad. If you're using it just as a side, then get, the small 16 ounce. And this is everything. So whenever I am ready to eat it, I'll either shake it up or I'll just dump it upside down into a bowl.
Okay.
So this is our next one. Just in case, need a better look. Okay, and then the last recipe that we have, and then I still have a little bit of my peppers and stuff left, so you could use this for garnish on anything. I'm just gonna put it up in the fridge, add it to more of your salads.
Okay.
All right. We're in the home stretch. So the next one is gonna be fairly easy.
Okay.
Because all we're doing, I'm actually gonna put this up. So those stems that we got from massaging the salad, all of that can be thrown into the veggie broth.
Okay.
Every single scrap that you have that is a vegetable, it doesn't matter if it's an onion peel, a root, anything, throw it into a pot with some water, some salt, some herbs, and just maybe a little bit of oil, and you'll be able to make a veggie stock.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to put up the rest of my feta cheese. I'm just gonna take it out of this plastic, put it into a glass container. Fridge.
So you use all glass.
Yes.
Okay.
So the reason I use glass is because we're putting hot food into a container to store it in order for the temperature to cool for us to be able to eat later. When you put hot foods into plastic, that plastic is then releasing microplastics and particles and chemicals into your food. So
Okay.
in order to avoid that, we use glass. And then I had a cucumber that I did not put in my salad, but I am going to make more salads with my lettuce that I have in there. Do not be afraid to use your herbs whenever you are making your salads. It will take it up a notch. If you're looking for a really quick vinaigrette, you can easily get salt, pepper, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, spring water and olive oil with herbs, blend it up with some lemon juice, and you'll have like a nice little lemon herb vinaigrette. If you're looking to have something spicy, and you're wanting to maybe have, like a chipotle ranch, then that ranch dressing that we made, all you have to do is add some cayenne to it, add some red pepper flakes to give it a little bit of a spice, or if you have hot sauce, your favorite hot sauce, you can add that to it as well.
Okay.
So don't feel like you have to follow the recipes to a T. I promise you, I will not be offended at all if you want to change up some things to your own liking.
Okay.
All right, so last but not least, I know it sounds like it, but I don't have a whole lot of dishes in here. I'm just cleaning off my cutting board because I'm going to use this to cut up my peaches. The first thing that we're going to do is preset our oven. Get my knife off real quick. because we don't want our peaches tasting like onions. All right, so we have peaches, we have a lemon here. I went to the store today and I actually forgot my baking soda. Ooh. Oh my God. I done dropped my AirPod in the sink. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. I'm not gonna put this back in my ear. I'm gonna let it just dry because it did fall into some water.
Okay.
But as long as you guys can hear me out of this one, then that's fine. So let
Is it
me.
the same way you can, I know people say you can put it in rice or something when you put it in water. Is that the same with the AirPods?
To be honest, I feel like it'll be okay because my AirPods have been washed in the washing machine before and they still work.
Wow.
So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to preheat our oven to 375.
Okay.
So that way I can get everything prepped. And I'm going to go ahead and slice up my peaches. That smells so good. I'm in Georgia, so these peaches should be good. Although I will say the best peaches that I've ever had were actually from South Carolina.
Okay.
So with your peaches, you want to make sure that when you're picking them out and you smell it, even from the skin before you cut it, when you smell it, you should be able to smell peach.
Okay.
Even if it's just a faint peach smell and it's hard, go ahead and get it, put it in a brown paper bag or a canvas bag and just sit it on the table where the sun is shining through for like 2 days and your peaches will be ripe.
Okay.
So I don't think I'm gonna need all of these peaches. I'm gonna save one.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're gonna do, there's two different options for you. You can either keep the skin on or you can take the skin off. I am going to take the skin off.
Okay.
We're not gonna waste it though. I am gonna eat the skin of this peach. But I'm taking the skin off because I just don't like the way it tastes in a cobbler. And although this recipe calls for baking powder, you don't necessarily need it. Because the whole point is that we want it to be like a crumble. So these skins that I'm using and putting to the side, this can be thrown in a smoothie. This can just be eaten, just like that. You can use it and, reduce it, cook it down and make a peach compote if that's what you want it to do. Peach compote is essentially just the peaches. You add some sort of sugar or agave, and then you can add maybe just a little bit of water, and then you blend it up.
Okay.
And then you could use that, to put on ice cream. You can use it to put on pancakes. You can use it to put on toast, bagels. Completely up to you. I'm going to put these to the side actually. So I'm going to thinly slice these. I want mine to be in slices because I'm going to actually layer these on the bottom. And I just feel like since it's fruit, I can't just cut this and not eat it. And these are some good peaches. Okay. So with the amount that I'm making, I could probably just use one peach instead of having to use all of these.
So with the baking powder, would that make it crumbly or no?
It will, yes.
Oh,
But
okay.
so there's different ways that you can do this. I am primarily gluten-free. So if you are using some sort of flour, or you want it to be like a cakey type of crumble, like a cake crumble, then at that point you would want to add the baking powder so that way it'll rise a little bit. But for me, I want mine to be like a crust, like a little nutty type of crust. So I'm using almond flour, pecans, as well as some other ingredients. I do have some gluten-free flour, but I haven't tried that with this. So I don't want to try anything new, especially with these pizzas tasting so good. And this being a cooking class, I'm gonna stick to the recipe here. So we're going to get a bowl. And this recipe calls for you to use maple syrup. If you want to use date syrup, that's fine. If you want to use agave, that's fine as well. I'm going to get my peaches. I actually might use more. Yeah, I'm going to use just one more half and then I'll eat the other half.
You were saying something about gluten. So I know gluten for me is not good.
Mm-hmm.
So do you use a lot of different products that are gluten, or you just do raw fruits and vegetables most of the time? Well,
I just do raw fruits and vegetables. Like I do okay with rice, so I'll eat rice every now and then. But to be honest, I try to stay away from anything that's starchy as much as I can, even though I crave it, especially like potatoes. Potatoes don't bother me, but also like, it's starchy and starch turns into sugar, and our bodies don't necessarily need that. It's okay to treat yourself every now and then, but exactly what I'm making now is how I typically eat. I will say most of the time I'm eating soups, I'm eating stews, and if I'm craving some sort of pasta, like I don't eat bread at all. And if I do, I'm pretty much preparing myself that you're not going to feel good after you eat this. Is it worth it? Kind of talking myself through that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, soup, stews, I'll do quinoa every now and then. I'll do rice or rice noodle. If I'm craving pasta, then I do red lentil pasta, which is my absolute favorite. I love a good there's an organic red lentil penne that they sell at Trader Joe's.
Okay.
Amazing. Barilla, don't get that one. It has a weird texture to it.
Yes,
it's not
I was
good.
getting to say that.
Yeah, don't get that one. You have to go to Trader Joe's and get their organic red lentil penne. That one, absolutely amazing. The texture is spot on.
Okay.
So the only difference is, the color, but so next we're going to add our maple syrup and our lemon juice. So we're going to I'm using maple syrup, and I'm also going to use date syrup because maple syrup is not cheap, you guys, at all. I got to hide it actually, so these kids don't use it all up.
Right.
They don't understand. I'm just like, y'all, you can't just be eating up all of the maple syrup. This is not pancake syrup. You can't this is liquid gold.
Yeah.
So, seeded lemon, of course. Get my Oven is still preheating. This one definitely has a lot of lemon, so we're gonna add our lemon juice.
I wanted to ask you, I've never been to Thailand. What is it that you like about Thailand? I've never
Oh
been
my God, how much time do you have? Oh my God, Thailand is just, it's such a wonderful place. Um, I will say the main thing for me at the beginning was my very first time going to Thailand. As soon as I stepped off the plane, everything out there just feels lighter.
there.
Like just lighter, like the air, the energy, the people, like people are genuinely happy. You know, you travel sometimes and, you know, because you're a tourist, everybody's like happy and excited that you're there because they think you're going to spend money. Out there, like people are genuinely happy. They're
Oh,
happy and they're excited to see you. They're happy and excited to like welcome you to their country and let you know about their culture and asking you like, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you tasted the food? They're very accommodating in the sense of a lot of people do speak English in Thailand, but even if you come across someone who doesn't speak English, even with the language barrier, you're still just able to communicate with them. I don't know how, but they just know how to make it happen. Like they're very patient. They don't get frustrated. And then those that can speak English, they will say what they're saying to you in English, and then they will say it in Thai. So
okay.
that way you will be able to make the correlation. Or if you say, or if you're speaking to them in English, then they'll like respond to you and they'll say, this is how you say it in Thai. But
Okay.
not in an arrogant, like you need to speak our language, but just in a like, you know, I want you to
Yes.
learn. Like I can see that you're trying type of thing.
Yes.
So that was the first thing. The second thing was absolutely the food. So out there, GMOs are banned. No GMOs are allowed in Thailand. You will find some places that have, you know, like they use pesticides, but it's always labeled.
Okay.
So you go in a grocery store, you'll see that they'll have like pretty much everything is organic. If something is sprayed, then it'll say like this has pesticide. If it's something that's sprayed with like a pesticide, but it's like a green pesticide,
Yeah.
meaning one that doesn't have harmful chemicals, it'll say pesticide safe.
Okay.
So they're very clear, like when it comes to their labeling. The food is absolutely amazing. My rent for my 2-bedroom condo was like $600 a month, including housekeeping once a week, fully
Wow.
furnished. With my utilities and everything included, my rent was maybe like $700. I would go grocery shopping for the week and only spend $60, fully stocking my fridge. If I ever wanted cold pressed juice, I want like organic fresh fruit. All I had to do was walk downstairs. If you go to a laundromat to wash your clothes, not even an additional fee. Say I went and I started my load and I had to go and do something. If my load is finished, there's people that work there that'll put your stuff like in the dryer for you. Or if they see that you're still not there, they'll fold your stuff up and like have it ready for you by the time you come back.
Mhm.
Like it just everything about it. The culture is absolutely amazing. The people are just so nurturing. Like that's the best word that I can think of, nurturing. So even when you're getting any service, like if you're going to get your nails done,
Yes.
like they wash your feet, like really wash your feet. They
Wow.
like instead of you having to sit your feet on the thing, like they have a whole thing where you can prop your legs up and sit back and go to sleep while they're doing your toes. Like it's just they had even the elderly people that work there, they're not working because they have to, they're working because they want to.
Mhm.
So and then Songkran, so I do have a retreat coming up in April. So
Okay.
Songkran is a Thai New Year, and during the Thai New Year they have a Songkran water festival. The water festival is pretty much like 3 or 4 days straight
Mhm.
where it's like a big water fight. I mean, not really fighting, but you just walk along the street, everybody's throwing water on each other because
Yeah.
the water is to cleanse you of anything that you don't want to carry into the new year. So it's like a purification like
Nice.
weekend. And I did Songkran this past year, and then next year I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to make sure I'm back for Songkran. I was like, I'm going to do a retreat in
Right.
Thailand, but instead of, I usually go to Chiang Mai. That's where I live when I'm out there. But this time it's going to be in Phuket. So I love Phuket also, but I heard that the Songkran festival in Phuket is just way more exciting. It was exciting in Chiang Mai, but in Phuket, you know, you have the Phi Phi Islands, you have the Chinese medicine stores that you can visit, Chinese medicine doctors. You have the beach that's right there. Chiang Mai is in the mountains. Phuket is at the beach. So it'll be a different experience, but it's still in Thailand. So it'll still be the same vibe and energy of the people that are there. But that one is going to be April the 11th through the 15th, I believe.
Okay.
So if you're interested, let me know. I will give you a discount code.
Okay.
So that way you can come, because I have 2 people that are coming that are repeat retreat goers.
Okay.
Barbara, she's absolutely amazing. She's been to like 3 or 4 retreats already.
Oh,
But she definitely has been waiting on Thailand, so she's coming. And then we have a couple of first timers also. So I
okay.
believe there's like 2 or 3 spots left. I
Okay.
hope that answered your question.
It
I
did.
could go
Thank
on and
you.
on.
Thank you for giving me that information. That was
Oh, you're
yeah.
welcome. All right. So in here we have our peaches, we have our lemon juice, we have our maple syrup, and it's so tempting to not just eat it just like this because it's absolutely amazing. So then in our separate bowl, I'm going to get my almond flour, my coconut sugar. I'm gonna go ahead and put my coconut sugar in here now since I'm here. All right, so almond flour, coconut sugar. I think I might need a little bit more. So the almond flour that I use, I actually order my almond flour off of Amazon. You can get it in the store, but if you get it in the store, it's gonna cost you an arm and a leg. So I highly recommend, if you are on the market for almond flour, raw almond flour, the Now Real Food brand. This is the one that I get. I buy it off of Amazon. This big bag was like half the price of the Bob's Red Mill one that I typically see in the store. Get our almond flour. And then I'm going to use this over here. So there's different nut options you can use. You can use pecans, you can use walnuts. I have some pecans that are already chopped up. You can use almonds as well. And you're asking about protein. 1 serving of pecans, which is 1/4 cup of pecans, that's going to be about 4 grams of protein. You have almond flour, which has protein in it. So 1 serving of almond flour has 5 grams of protein. And I'm just going to add this whole thing. So this is just raw organic pecans. Get a, I'm going to use a, mix this up. I'm just using a fork to combine. So the only reason I'm not using baking soda in mine is because I forgot to get some at the store. But it's still going to be good because I'm gonna have a little crusty didn't sound right, but I'm gonna have a little bit of a crust with mine. I'm gonna add a little bit more of this coconut sugar. This is just gonna go right on top. This is not the same peach cobbler, you know, that tastes like the biscuit on top. Another way that you could do this, I actually think I might do it this way, but I have almond flour, I have coconut sugar, I have pecans in here. We're also gonna add just a little bit of sea salt. So I have my Celtic salt here. And this is rock salt. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grind it up in my mortar and pestle here. I'm just gonna add a little bit. Not too much. Mix this up. So what I was saying that you could do is you could add plant-based butter to this or coconut oil, and that'll help it get nice and crispy and crumbly. All right, so now we are going to add our coconut oil, non-dairy milk, and vanilla extract into our dry ingredients. I'm going to use coconut milk. Almond milk works fine. Oat milk works fine as well. And I'm eyeballing mine because I'm not making mine the same way. So I'm gonna add just enough to turn it into a crumble.
Okay.
Yep, so that's enough. And then I'm gonna add the coconut oil. I'm using extra organic virgin coconut oil. So just to give you an idea of what I'm doing here, you can see how it's kind of crumbly. This one is gonna be very nutty. And I'm just gonna put this on top and then we're gonna bake it. If you have vegan butter, you can, after it cooks down a little bit, you can add a little bit just on top. I've used so many spoons just in this little amount of time. Okay, got our coconut oil. And I'm actually going to add cinnamon to mine. Cinnamon to my peach mixture here. This is Ceylon cinnamon, which helps with your heart health, helps with your blood sugar, helps with your immune system. All right, I did say that I was gonna add my date syrup to peaches, just a little bit. You could even throw some candied dates in here too, or not candied dates, but add dates and they will cook right along with the peaches. Give it a smell. Oh, this smells good. Okay, add a little bit of date syrup to almond flour mixture. So I'm actually gonna add a little bit of psyllium husk to my almond mixture. Since I don't have baking powder, this just helps thicken it up a little bit.
Okay.
There we go. I'm gonna give this a taste. And what I'm gonna do is add date syrup to, maybe not date syrup. I think I need something, I'm gonna add cinnamon. This is why I say taste as you go, because this is giving Almond Joy. I don't know if you've had, or not Almond Joy. You know those coconut cookies, the Girl Scout ones?
Yes.
It tastes like this. That's what this tastes like, but without the caramel and the chocolate. So I
Okay.
just want it to be a little bit more sweet. So I'm going to add some more coconut sugar. It's very crumbly right now. This is going to have lots of fiber. Taste again. Oh, yeah. So this is why you taste as you go. Don't ever taste something and it doesn't taste good and be like, oh, well, maybe it's going to be better after. No, we're going to make sure it's right. I should be able to eat it raw, or I should be able to eat it cooked. So the way that I'm going to put my peaches in here, I'm going to lay down just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm just layering into a little spiral the peaches. We want to cover the entire bottom. One more. And this is going to cook very fast because I am doing this in a non-traditional way. We have our peaches cut thin. I'm like praying there's some of the mixture left, but I still have some peaches over here, so I'm probably just gonna eat them just like that. This would be like a good topping on an ice cream, or eat this with ice cream. I wasn't even planning on doing this actually, but I did buy some coconut milk ice cream, so I know how I will be eating this. Okay. So these two are done, and then we'll do the smaller ones. Might just do one of the smaller ones. There we go. All right, so now I'm just gonna pour whatever remaining, well, not all of it. I'm gonna drizzle some of this on top of my crumble. I'm just putting some of the liquid there. You guys can't even see what I'm doing. Pull this back here. There we go. So we have our ramekins with our peaches and our mixture on it. And I'm just gonna spoon some of this on top. And we're just gonna spread it out. So this is like a healthy peach cobbler.
Yes.
You know, because we don't have all the gluten and we don't have all the extra carbs. You can even eat this raw vegan. If you have a food dehydrator, you could just put this right in a food dehydrator. Or if you don't have a food dehydrator, you can put your oven on 150 degrees, pop this in the oven for a few hours, and you'll see that the crust will cook through a little bit, but at a very slow heat that still makes it raw. Yes, Samoa's. That's the name of the cookie. Thank you, Jason.
Mhm.
I could not remember the name of it. Those used to be my favorite cookies before I stopped eating meat and dairy. But I still have Thin Mints that I could eat if I chose to, but they have gluten in them, so usually don't choose to. So when you have gluten, what are the side effects that you experience? For me, it's like mucus, I get really bloated. Sometimes I'll have a rash, like I'll start breaking out. What is it for you that happens with your sensitivity to gluten?
Well, actually, my nutritionist had told me that it's best for me to remove the gluten because it'll help me with less inflammation.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that, and that's another thing I'll say. Even though I can't eat gluten and pasta and stuff here, when I was in Thailand, your girl was eating pasta and nothing happened. So I think that it's a United States of America thing, but I digress. All right, so now you can still see. I'm just gonna pour the rest of this peach mixture on top just a little bit, just drizzle a little bit on the rest. I'm gonna let you guys see what this looks like. We are not going to have time to stay on while this cooks through, but it's not gonna look much different.
Okay.
So we have our peach cobbler cups.
Yeah.
All right, peach cobbler cups. Know if it can be seen. So I'm just gonna pop these in the oven. I'm actually gonna pop them in this glass pan and then pop them in the oven because I don't want it to spill over.
Okay.
And once it's done, I was trying to see if I had something else. I'm gonna use this for the other one. I don't like just sitting stuff straight on the oven. So my oven is fully heated to 375. I'm putting these in, and they should be done in about 20-25 minutes.
Okay.
So before we end our cooking class, were there any questions that any of you had about either something that we were doing today or something that you might want to do that we didn't do today?
No, not so. Probably it is something, but I can't think of it now. But what you showed me so far it was very helpful. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed the cooking class and I've learned a lot. And I can't wait to try all the recipes and yes, for my journey. Thank you so much.
Yes, if you have any questions, just shoot me a message. You know
Oh,
how to reach me.
yes.
And I'll get you over some information about Thailand if you are interested in joining us for SongKon in April.
Okay.
But yeah, if you guys have any questions, just shoot me a message on Instagram or send me an email. I'll make sure I get back to you. I look forward to seeing your meal prep. So whenever you do get around to it, show me some pictures. I would love to see them. Let me know what you think.
Yes,
Yeah.
everything was extremely helpful. And I appreciate you taking the time out to teach us because we do need to know like these little tricks and trades of everything. I think my
Yeah.
problem is the starches, like, because I don't know really what to eat. So I'm leaning towards
Mhm.
the potatoes and the beans and stuff like that, and the
Mhm.
chickpeas and stuff like that. And I know I need to lay off of that stuff. So,
Yeah. Well, chickpeas aren't horrible, but I am one of those people. I can't eat beans, but I can eat certain lentils. So if you are feeling like you need to stay away from the starches and say you want beans, instead of doing beans, maybe do the red lentils, the orange lentils, and the yellow lentils, but stay away from like the green, the black, and the brown. So
okay.
anything that are in those darker colors, usually those are the ones that are a bit more heavy. But even with the red lentils, like you can make chili with it, you can make stew. Chickpeas are, I can't eat chickpeas because I have a food sensitivity to it.
Yeah.
But curry chickpeas is absolutely amazing. Maybe substituting the rice for quinoa,
Hmm.
substituting, what you would use wheat flour for, using almond flour, or going, Trader Joe's has an amazing gluten-free flour. And if you're looking for, alternatives for other starches like potatoes, burro bananas. So if you go to any of the international markets, burro bananas or green bananas, when you like fry them up or you put them in an air fryer with a little bit of oil on them, you cannot tell the difference between that and a potato.
Okay.
So burro bananas or green bananas, like if you get bananas that are really, really green, like not even turning yellow yet, you can
Yeah.
make French fries out of those. If you want some sweet potato fries, instead of using sweet potatoes, you can use parsnips. Parsnips taste exactly like sweet potatoes. Um,
Okay.
but there's substitutions for everything. I think it's just out of habit, and we want to feel satiated when we eat. Like, we want to eat and we want to feel satisfied. We don't want to eat and feel like, oh, I'm still missing something.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so just, don't torture yourself. Absolutely eat to make sure, you're satisfied. And the way that you do that is not by eating like you're having to give up a bunch of stuff. You're
Okay.
supposed to eat as if like, no, I'm eating because I am enjoying the food that I'm making. So whether that means you're substituting something, but never feel like you have to give up, substitute as much as you need to, but don't ever
Right.
feel like you need to give something up, because that's what makes it even harder. And I'm
Harder.
saying this because about an hour before this call, I was like, man, I want some fries.
Hmm.
I was like, I want some fries. And I actually bought a bag of potatoes. But after actually cooking this, I'm like, I don't want it anymore because I have food. That's why meal prep is so important. Because
Yeah.
when you're not prepared and you don't have that food prep, it's like at any moment you could just be like, all right, I just need to eat something. But,
Yeah.
I'm good now. So I have these potatoes because I was like, well, as long as I'm not stopping somewhere, I can just make my own potatoes when I get home. But there's food in the fridge. So, but I understand completely. Don't torture yourself. I say this during the cleanses too. Do not torture yourself. Listen to your body and, give it what it thinks, give it what it needs, not what you necessarily want in the moment. But
Yeah, I love your cleanses. I've been in a couple of them and they're great. I just
yeah.
missed out on the last one. I had paid for it and I missed out on it, but um I love them.
Oh, it's
They're
still
very
going. You can
thorough
still
and
do it.
oh, can I?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
I
portal's
thought I
going to
just
be up until the end of August.
oh, okay. Okay,
And the
well I'm
support
gonna
group is
connect
still
with
open also.
I'm gonna connect with you because I don't know if you remember, but I had paid for it and then I had went to Germany and
Mm-hmm.
everything had got kind of crazy. And so I was gonna connect back with you, but I know you're getting ready to go out of town and stuff. So
I'm just going for the weekend. So
oh,
I'm
okay.
I'm available. I'm not leaving the country or anything yet. So
Oh, okay.
I'll be here for a while. Yeah, just send me a message. I'll give you the link so that way you can get into the portal, and then you can do the cleanse. I'll put you in the support group and everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna need the support group.
Look, the
All
support
right.
group is real. A lot of people don't utilize it, and then they're just like, yeah, I gave up. I'm like, you should have been in the support group. We all
Yeah,
going through it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But thank you so
Alright.
much. I really appreciate everything.
Yeah.
Yes, you ladies enjoy your evening and just catch up with me on Instagram.
Okay, will do.
All
Thank
right, thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.